Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2017 Alien prequel film, Alien Covenant. The film is once again directed by Sir Ridley Scott, and it stars Michael Fassbender, Catherine Waterston, Billy Crudup, and Danny McBride. Now, the film follows the crew of the Covenant. It's a colonization ship. It's got, I think, it's 2,000 colonists, and I think there's 15 crew, something like that. And they're all married, basically, so they're like couples on this ship, and they're off basically trying to find a new planet to populate and to colonize. They've got a planet in sight. While traveling there is an accident. There's like a solar flare hits the ship. They lose their captain, and they're all brought out of hypersleep. And just before they go back into hypersleep to head to the planet they're going to go to, which is 7 years away, something like that, they spot on the system that they're at like a signal. And the signal appears to be coming from a human, because they're singing a human song. And the planet that it's coming from looks like, in actual fact, to be a perfect planet to colonize. So they decide, or the captain decides, to basically scout out this planet. So they head down there. Once they get to this planet, they are confronted by some real terror, and they also are come face to face with David, who was the android from the Prometheus film who escaped and headed off with Dr. Elizabeth Shaw. Right, what are my thoughts on Alien Covenant? Well, much like Prometheus, when I first saw this film, back when it came out, I remember being quite bitterly disappointed with it. I remember a lot of people making a lot of noise about, what's Ridley Scott doing? He's kind of changing canon. He's doing this. He's doing that, and I suspect it probably rubbed off on me a little bit because I'm such a fan of this franchise as well. But after putting some distance between before, I've only seen it once before this one. Putting some distance between seeing it and watching it again for this review, I have to say this film is much better on a second viewing. When you kind of put your disappointment behind you and it's not as tangible, I kind of found myself looking at this film with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective. And yes, while there are problems with this film, the fact that, very much like Prometheus, they just kind of get off a ship with no protective suits on or anything, regardless of whether they think the air is breathable. It's the most stupid thing they could do. And what happens literally within the first 5 minutes of them, 10 minutes of them stepping out of the ship, 2 of them get infected. So there are things in this film that do rub you up the wrong way. There's no getting around it. But if you could put all that stuff to one side, what you also have here, I think, is a pretty good entry into the franchise. Now, smartly, because I think Ridley Scott realised that in Prometheus, a lot of the disappointment that people felt was the fact that he didn't use the xenomorph, not in the way that people thought anyway. He should use them. And so he kind of changed his thought patterns on this one and decided to include the xenomorph in this film. And that really helps the film. The fact that we get to see the xenomorph in all its glory in this film, getting birthed for the first time. And that brings, for the conclusion of the film, some real horror and terror, kind of what you're used to with this franchise, which I thought really, really worked. Again, I thought Michael Fassbender was superb here, playing a dual role, playing Walter, who is the android on the Covenant, who's American speaking. He's got an American accent, because it's 10 years after the Prometheus that went missing. So they've been tinkering with these androids, robots since, and they're more advanced than the David model. So David, who they meet in this film, is still his old model sort of thing, still speaking in an English accent, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a clever way to distinguish between the two of them. One in an American accent, one in an English accent. And honestly, David has, by this film, become a really tangible villain. It's hard to accept that he's the creator of the xenomorphs, just to a large degree, but it all kind of fits in. It's just a shame, I think, that we are not going to get, at least as far as I know, we're not going to get the conclusion to this trilogy, because this film was a bit of a critical and financial failure at the box office. So his planned third film in this prequel trilogy, as far as I know, isn't going to happen now. I think they're taking it in a different direction, which is fair enough, I suppose. But I do think these two films deserve the conclusion to the trilogy, which obviously now I seriously doubt we are going to get. But I think as well with this one, the addition of some of the new characters that they introduce into this film, especially Daniels, again, another really strong female lead here, I think is a good addition. It's just a shame we didn't get Elizabeth Shaw returning, not in the way that we all hoped, sort of thing. But it's when this film really kicks into gear. The first 45 minutes drag a little bit. But once this film kicks into gear, it's pretty relentless, really. You know, they kind of go from out of the frying pan into the fire because they're exposed in the outside and these creatures are attacking them, and, you know, they're losing people left, right and centre. And then they think their saviour has found them, David, and in actual fact, he's leading them to their doom. I just thought was really good, you know, in a sense of literally from one moment of real danger thrown back into another one that's even more dangerous. And this feels more of a horror than Prometheus, and does definitely sit nicely in the franchise. A little bit devoid of tension here and there. I mean, the final sequence, you know, where she's kind of fighting the alien on this lander sort of thing is really good. I quite enjoy that. And then they get on the ship and then they're presented with another threat sort of thing. That kind of felt a bit tacked on, almost. It almost felt like they were trying to recreate, you know, the end of Aliens, you know, when the Queen is on the ship fighting Ripley. But it's fine. It's not, that's a minor criticism of the film. But yeah, I did enjoy this far more the second time round than I did the first time round. So if you guys are a bit like me, you weren't impressed the first time you saw this, it is worth a second viewing with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective, because you will likely enjoy it a little bit more. And to be honest, I'm not overly precious when it comes to any franchise. You know, if they make changes to films or changes to canon or changes to a franchise, as long as they make sense to some degree, or as long as they're not just done for trying to make a impact or rile people up or whatever, if they're done and they're not really that intrusive, then I'm okay with it, generally speaking. I think sometimes people can be a little bit too precious when it comes to franchises and films that we've all grown to love, you know, and we've seen it time and time again, fans of certain franchises kicking off when new creators kind of tinker around with a formula. But in my opinion, I think Sir Ridley Scott has got every right, if you like, to kind of tinker around with this formula, because he's the granddaddy of this franchise, if you like. And I don't think he tinkered too much, if I'm being particularly honest. I'm not that precious with the changes that he made. Hence why, other than some stupid stuff that happened in this film, I do quite enjoy it. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. I will make my way through the 2 Aliens vs Predators films and get reviews up for them at some point too. So thanks for joining me.